Fan's still making noise, but now it's kind of quieter in here usually, so could be good. My mother's always upset that I don't eat enough at school when she sees like a full lunchbox. So I'm just gonna lie. It's good, but I think this is probably my first like, because it's definitely not my first panic attack at school. I've had quite a few of those. But this seems like the first like real psychotic episode I've had at school before, and it lasted a long time. And it felt like every single class was longer than usual, but the day itself was shorter than usual. Like all of it just kind of melded into one whole thing. It was just like boom, I'm out. How was it louder? So, okay, what? I was in first block, and it was normal. Nothing was wrong that morning at all. I went in there with like a pretty good amount of energy, and there was like nothing stressing me out. I wasn't anxious about anything at all. But after doing like normal last stuff, I sat down and I felt a little bit stressed out of nowhere. I tried writing something down, but that didn't really distract me. And the feeling of writing something kind of felt like it was also stressing me out. Like I'm not supposed to be able to do this. I just felt uneasy doing it, so I immediately erased everything. Sat on the floor, just like against the wall, you know. And as I was sitting there feeling like I was a bit stressed out, I randomly just started getting like paranoid and having some sort of like some sort of psychotic episode was like just happening. And then I stared to like the side. I should say I was sitting on like a step of a stair. It's like a big room audience. I don't know why I'm being vague about this at all. I was I was in the theater room. I sat on the stair next to the seats since like our assigned seats are in the audience. Where else were we gonna be? I was sitting on the stair, and I looked to the one to my side because I hear something. Because like they have, like I noticed they have different types of lights under each step. Like you could see the LEDs there, but the one I was sitting by didn't didn't have that. It was like a block, and that one was like making a noise for some reason, and I didn't like it. It was a noise that I imagined from some sort of surveillance device. As you guys might know, I don't like surveillance. And it was like freaking me out, so I kept staring at it, and my friend saw that. Walked over to me. Everyone else is doing something, like most of the class, so there's only a few of us in the audience. So my friend walks up to me, sits next to me. I'm like, do you hear that? But then I just had to beg the question, are you real? They didn't really understand the question. But they knew I had psychosis, so I was like, yeah, I'm real. They understood it was like a serious question, of course. I mean, they sat next to me. They knew something was wrong. And like I was going back into, because I was going back into that sort of delusion I keep going into. It's like way too common for me, where I just think that like everything is fake. I'm being like everything that happens to me is completely scripted. Everyone I know is an actor and is in on it, knows everything that's going on with me. And I'm just being watched and like surveilled at all times, whether this is an experiment or I'm like entertainment for them, whoever it is. I don't know. I don't know what life would be like outside of this. If this is just like completely made up and they just kind of made stuff up from scratch and it's completely different out there. I couldn't imagine what's like out there. Is red sad and blue happy? I don't. So I don't really know what yellow would be. Yellow over here is happy and hazardous, so I don't really know what the opposite would be. But I sat there for the rest of class, and I felt very uneasy, and I could feel like the more I was thinking about things, the more I was starting to have a panic attack. And like I could hardly breathe there, and I didn't say anything else to my friend. I didn't even look at them because I'm not giving in. That's an actor. That's not a real person. That's what was going in my head. And I just kind of sat curled in the ball, and I tossed my phone out of my pocket because technology, surveillance. A little later, I did that with the AirPods that were in my pocket, and also the safety pin that was just through my pocket that I just kind of had there because like one of the Velcro pieces fell off. You know, it's like metal or silver or aluminum, whatever it is. Could be used for something. Magnetic, I don't fucking know. I wasn't gonna take my chances. I even took my earring out at some point. They could easily hide something inside of one of those. Find it. But look at this little guy. It's so fun. But it wasn't fun, and like I just kept thinking about that the whole time, and it was horrible until eventually, the rest of the class finishes what they're doing. They're getting back to their seats, and one of my friends walks by. He's like, "What happened over here?" My friend's just like, "Go sit down. You can go." So he just leaves us alone. And then another friend of mine who's very concerned with me as well a lot of the time is just sitting there and like asking me things, and I don't say anything. I didn't say anything for the entire rest of that. Why do I look like that? Yeah. They like tried to like pat me on the shoulder or something, but it made me uncomfortable. I didn't like that, so I immediately just like flinched and got out of it. Like, and I like tensed up until she walked away. It's not fun when that happens because I can't talk to anyone when it happens because I don't think they're a real person. I have no one to talk to about this stuff because no one's a real person. If I tell them about it, they're gonna tell me I'm crazy because I'm fucking blowing their cover. That's why. Except, they're obviously a real person and I'm going insane. So they're obviously gonna tell me, hey, you're crazy. That's not actually happening. Calm down. But that's exactly what an actor would say. So there's literally nothing they can do to prove themselves as, like, real at all. And I walked to second block class. I haven't used, like, the weird aliases for my friends on this channel. I haven't talked about them deliberately. So, like, the friend that went next to me was, that was Doodles. My friend Signat is the one that walked past, and then the second one that, like, patted me on the shoulder. I don't have a name for that one. She doesn't show up in the rest of the story, though. But yeah, I go to my second class without waiting on any of them to walk with them like I usually do. And the whole group, Doodle, Signat, that other friend, Squimpy. Squimpy's important to the story. And I go to my second class, and nothing happens in that class, ever. I don't know anyone in there, so I just don't talk in there. And after a while, just sitting there, I think, what's the point of this? What do they get out of this class? Like, watching me. Because nothing happens in there. They don't plan anything for this class at all. Nothing goes on. I was thinking, is it meant to be some sort of recovery thing where nothing is gonna happen? So that I could just, like, not blow their whole experiment or whatever is going on? Just calm down a bit? Because if this were happening, they would do everything in their power to make sure I didn't realize anything was going on. I won't find anything out. I won't get so insane that I realize it's a fake reality. I can't harm myself at all. I'm sure any pill out there is actually not capable of, like, harming me if I take too many in this fake reality. In real life, they absolutely would if you took too many. Do not do that. But I thought about that. It's like, they wouldn't give me something that can actually work and actually harm myself. No. They want to keep me here. So, I was thinking, like, it was like, I genuinely felt trapped there. I couldn't get out of that school, and there was no way I could ever get out of that fabricated world. And it's like, it's torture. I don't know how to get out of there once I know it's like, this is what's going on. And I was thinking, like, if they start to think that I'm too self-aware of this stuff, what's gonna happen to me? What'll they do? You can't really continue the experiment once they know something's up. So, is someone gonna come in this room and shoot me right now? I don't know. But um same thing happens in the next class. Nothing goes on in there. Usually something does, but that day in particular, we had a sub and did nothing. And my friend who's usually there with me, the one that tapped me on the shoulder, no name, she wasn't there for some reason. She checked out. Apparently, she got food poisoning that day. Didn't know that until, like, 2 hours ago. So, nothing happens now and again. I go to have lunch afterwards, and then Doodle shows up, and two other friends of mine, but neither of those two know I have psychosis or anything weird like that. They don't know of any sort of weird drama. I can't tell them about any of this stuff, and Doodles doesn't ask me anything. Just doesn't say anything that entire time. Hardly even looks at me. I'm like, does he care? Does he think this is, like, fake because it's never gone on this long? But one of my friends kept asking, like, what's going on? Like, do you just have resting sad face or something? No, something's definitely going on. I just wouldn't say anything. Towards the end of lunch, she randomly got out this, like, bubble thing, started blowing bubbles. I didn't know how to feel after that. What is the... I was so confused. Where did that come from? Who does that? I was like... I genuinely had no idea what to think of that. That was just, like, too spontaneous for anyone to be instructed to do, you know? Like, it didn't seem right to me. But I didn't know what to think. And I didn't want to be gullible and just, like, believing, like, oh, this is all real when it actually isn't. So I tried not to pay attention to it. It's like, that's really hard not to pay attention to, you know? It's really hard to ignore. Anyways, I go to the, that in-between period at my school, back into theater, and I'm telling Doodles, like, I don't want to, because, like, Doodles walks me over to there, doesn't have that same, class for this one today, Friday, but not today. and I'm just like, I don't want to go in there anymore. And I can't really start a conversation with him about this stuff. So I'm like, it doesn't feel real today. And he just dis- doesn't really regard it that much, and then keeps switching the subject. Like, are you gonna go in or what? Like, I don't. I'm not sure what to do. It's like, are you gonna skip? Where would I go? I don't know. Just go in there. I didn't want to. I didn't want to play some sort of theater game when I felt that way. So did that. I sat at the very top row, so I didn't have to like participate. But this is a game where like everyone was gonna do it, and it wasn't difficult. It didn't take much energy. It was like literally just go to a different spot in the room, and if he randomly calls that spot, everyone over there is out. It's like not the usual type of theater game. Just something to get people moving. It's like I really couldn't say no to it. I It's like everyone do it, and it's a thing that everyone can do. So I had to do it, and it felt even more abnormal to me. How like I didn't know to accept that this was all real because I guess nothing truly changed all that much, but it's like it feels weird how I'm just like giving in and letting all this happen when I don't believe it's real. I didn't do work in second block at all, my second block class, because it felt pointless knowing it was all fake. I have all week to do it though, and it's like very simple because that teacher doesn't really put much effort into a lot of assignments, so I can do it very easily. This apple still looks good. It's usually beat up by the end of the day. Um, but yeah, then that game ends, and I go over to my friends, Signat, Squimpy, Mini Me. No, that was in the middle of it. They weren't there, but I was with Signat and Squimpy, and um, just the way Squimpy is as a person, the way they were acting, it was like they were too human. They also couldn't be an actor, just like that other friend. I couldn't see it. It just wouldn't work. So I didn't know what to think. It's like, is this real? I don't know. But I started realizing, like, because I was starting to calm down even though I hadn't fully recovered after those last two classes. The spontaneous, like, random, oh, blow bubbles, or like, just, I don't know. I was starting to realize maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm just mentally unwell. And, like, I started getting better a little bit after that. I wasn't fully speaking yet by that point, so I went to fourth block and I really just couldn't speak, but I was recovering by that point. Felt a bit better. So I felt good by the time that class ended, and I went to dismissal with all my friends, and I told them like, "Hey, I'm feeling better now, guys. All is good." Because they did notice something was going on. They could tell. They kept asking me about it, but I couldn't speak. I didn't want to speak. In like first block, I didn't want to speak because I didn't want to give them anything. After that, I just felt uncomfortable speaking. I just couldn't do it. But by the end, I was a bit better. I messaged Doodles and Squimpy about what's going on. Squimpy doesn't really read a lot of the messages all the time. Which, they're not on their phone all the time. That's pretty good for a person, I think. You don't see that a lot. Maybe they're doing better from that. But Doodles responds pretty quickly. And I get to explain like exactly all that was going on. And we talk about like what should we do next time that happens? because obviously this isn't the first time I've thought this stuff, and just like I don't know. That's what always scares me. I don't like when this happens because I feel insane when it's happening, but I don't know who to talk to because I think everyone's fake. And they can't convince me they're not because anything they would say to try and prove they're real would be the exact same thing they would say as an actor. So like I can't even just say, "Do you have something to prove you're real?" Cuz how do you prove that? But it's made me think a lot. Like what would be the difference between this world and the real world? What is the experiment? Like is the color white gloomy and the color black is like a lot more upbeat or something? Is like is gray cheerful and all the other colors are just like really dreary or something? Like what's going on? Are major chords over there really sad sounding? I've heard it's like that in the real world too, just in other cultures. They like minor chords. Never researched that. It's probably just like rumor or clickbait or something. I don't know. Like something different going on in that other world though. And I don't know what the experiment would be. And it's like, could you really train a person to be that way? Could you raise a person to think that like, assuming we're the real world, we make a fake one. Could you convince someone that screaming is not out of fear but out of happiness? That you smile when you're sad? That like, that red looks cold but blue feels hot? Like, are those inherent things, or do you have to like teach them that stuff? Do people have to be used to that? Because there's a lot of things that are like that. Like in other animals, they make different expressions than us. Some of them smile when they're scared or when they're trying to intimidate you, not when they're happy. Some of them look sad when they're really cheerful. It's not an inherent thing anywhere, so it might not even be like that across humanity. You could teach a child the most complex language possible that if you tried to teach it to anyone, they would not be able to figure it out at all. Like hyper Klingon or something, make it incredibly complicated. No one would ever be able to learn it. But if you teach a child that as their first language, it's gonna feel easy to them. It's gonna be natural. So like also thought between like there's a lot of things in English that I just think make sense, but people always talk about how they're so nonsensical. And it's like, just pay attention to the patterns. There are real spelling pronunciation patterns in English. They're just very complicated. So people don't think there is any sort of consistency. Like, people don't like the grammar to it all that much. And it makes me wonder, am I just finding random patterns that aren't actually there? And it's just a fully constructed language I'm speaking that, like, the real world doesn't know. They just wanted to see if I'm able to learn it naturally. Just as an experiment. I don't know. That would be interesting, though, but there's no good way to test that out. Especially, like, nothing that wouldn't end in the exact way I felt all day. It's weird. Weird stuff. It's scary when this happens, though, because how do you get out of that? You can't. It's so difficult. I really need medication. I really need antipsychotics. I'm just not allowed to have any pills. I don't think my last strength trusted me around any, so that's probably why I never got prescribed any. So maybe I'll see a shrink in the future again, but I have no idea. My friends keep offering places they go to, but the first time I told my mother about a place I was suggested to by one of my friends, she just said, Your friend's white, right? Yeah, they got better insurance. We can't afford that at all. And we probably couldn't. So, it's never gonna work. We're never gonna find a good psychiatrist, and I don't trust therapists. I found out my last shrink was actually a therapist, not a psychiatrist. The second time I saw him. And, yeah. He couldn't be trusted, actually. So, I don't learn to juggle. I really don't. I never really had any reason. Like, I never felt like I really needed to, or like I really felt like doing it. But it always looks so interesting, you know?